and I'll move on to a question, is over the weekend in the Huntsville newspaper, I believe, but I found it on Alabama.com, one Joni Johnson, a TVA engineer, whistleblower complaint came to light. And I would like the Nuclear Regulatory Commission to explain to me why the rosy picture that you are painting of how safe the plant is, how it conflicts with the picture that she paints in this article of the lapses in safety culture that are pervasive. And the last thing I'll say is that Gregory Yasko, the former chairman of the Nuclear Regulatory Commission, the previous chairman to the current chairman, has said that all 100 reactors that are operating right now in the United States are unsafe, and they all need to be shut down. This is Gregory Yasko. He was your boss, each and every one of your boss, not very long ago. And he was in a position to know. And I just want you all, I know you recognize the gravity of the work you're doing, but this is our lives in this region, and we really need you to take this extremely seriously. I hope you do, but I don't know if you're familiar with the whistleblower complaint. I can give you a copy if you'd like that I downloaded from Alabama.com. Thank you.
Okay. What was your name? I'm sorry.
Don Safer.
Okay. Don, let me start. First of all, thank you for your questions. And let me respond by agreeing with you about the importance of nuclear safety. That we devoted, most of us here devoted a significant part of our lives to overseeing the safety of operating reactors in this country. So we're as passionate about it as you are. And certainly the resident inspectors here who live in the community, they understand that as well. So please don't assume otherwise. The chairman of the NRC is Dr. Allison McFarland. I work for her, and so does everyone else here.
I said so the previous chairman.
Excuse me, I recognize that. I don't work for Dr. Yasko, and I don't feel the need to respond to anything that he says, but I do appreciate his observations as a private citizen, and I'm sure others have opinions on that as well. As for the whistleblower that you spoke to, I'm going to allow Mr. Guthrie to share just a couple of thoughts on that.
Whose article you're referring to? I'm not going to speak to whether or not she's a whistleblower or anything about that, but what I will talk about is the technical aspects that were brought up in that article. In fact, when you go back, a little bit of history here. Though the two issues that are brought up in that article, both involve the residual heat removal system on Unit 1. One of the technical parts that are points that are brought up in that article was the low pressure coolant injection valve that failed, and that caused loss of flow. And so that's one of the technical issues that were pointed out. The other one involved an RHR motor that actually ended up had a bent shaft in it. So it was over a period of time it failed. It happened to fail during the same outage as that the low pressure coolant injection valve failed, red finding, right? As it turns out, in 2010, we issued an inspection report with both of those issues in that report. We inspected them, evaluated the risk significance of each of those. We were fully cognizant that they happened during the same outage. We evaluated at that time the exposure idea of when they could have, how long they could have function, that kind of stuff. I actually signed that report out. So we were very knowledgeable of those technical issues at the time. We actually discussed the overlap that's discussed in that article, that's pointed out in that article. We followed our processes for classifying and evaluating and dispositioning both of those issues. And so when you look at and you read about those technical issues in the inspection report, the conclusions that we made about risk, one being red, one being green, the motor failure was, we knew that there was a problem with that motor, okay, the NRC did. And we had concerns for it over a few years, because it was installed during the Unit 1 reconstitution effort to restart that unit. From the time that it was installed, it exhibited abnormal or what we would characterize as like elevated type vibrations. The shaft, you can never see that the shaft with your eye is bent, right? It's very small. It takes sensitive equipment to monitor the vibrations and stuff. I just make sure everybody understands that. But so the licensee, as it turns out, they misdiagnosed the problem with that motor, and eventually it failed on. But the point that I want to make is that even back in 2010, the NRC was fully aware of the fact that there was problems in both of, in the RHR system involving the injection valve and the motor. And in fact, so when I talked about equipment reliability and the scope of the inspection effort, the RHR motor and obviously the ellipse valve was included in the scope of the inspection effort as a basis for equipment reliability. In fact, I had to convince the regional administrator, as I discussed in how we developed our inspection scope, that in putting Browns Ferry in column 4, we used all of the known conditions, previous conditions with equipment to come up with they should be in column 4, and here's what our inspection effort's going to look like. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, to a degree. I mean, I could follow up, but I know other people want to ask questions, so.